Hello again. Surviving in the old medieval times is tough. Without refrigeration, electronic lighting, firearms, all the lovely modern stuff that we take for granted in our Rimworld games. But I think I know just the thing to make it even more tough. Zombies. I've played with the Zombieland mod before, but I had guns and robots, which to be honest made it pretty easy. This time I expect lasting 100 days will be a pretty serious struggle. We're starting as a tribe of 5. Ibis, frog, gazelle, lemur and ram. All of whom are pretty decent colonists, because they're going to have to be in order to make this work. The mod list for this playthrough is pretty limited. I have just the Medieval Overhaul mods, Zombieland and Vanilla Expanded Psycasts. You can, as ever, find the full list below. Right, so zombie spawning. Zombieland uses this threat scale graph to determine when to spawn Zeds, giving you occasional respite from the hordes. I've set it up to spawn zombies from any soft ground that's left in darkness. Ordinarily that would possibly be too easy because you'd just light the whole place up with electric lights, but we don't have those. Anyway, don't get attached to all these guys because about 15 days later their little hovel is swarming with zombies and they're all dead. I tried next with a group of 8, 7 of whom have bows, none of whom made it past day 30. So what do we do? If even with 7 competent archers we weren't able to hold off the hordes, well, magic. Starting with a single Psycaster might be just what we need. It's the only real area of effect zombie clearance method I can think of for this scenario. So of our 5 starting colonists, who you can get just a little bit attached to this time, I promise, we'll make Humps here into an ice wizard. The others, Toton, Bear, Shark and Dog, are all fairly decent colonists, but none of them can conjure elemental projectiles, so, kind of second-rate compared to Humps the Almighty. In their first 2 weeks on this blasted Rimworld, before the zombies arrive, the gang dig into a hill and make what I like to imagine resembles a much less cosy hobbit hole. It's less cozy because it currently has rough stone walls and floors, 5 beds, which are just slabs of raw wood pushed awkwardly close to each other, a table and some benches, also just made of logs, a hoopstone to throw rocks at for fun, a basic kitchen next to a cupboard full of room temperature meat and animal fat, and of course, last but not least, a dedicated spot to stare at the wall from, whilst figuring out how to build more comfortable furniture. Outside, they have a perimeter wall complete with a rudimentary kill tunnel, a covered space to store things whilst the cupboards are being mined out, a meat and hide drying zone, and across the river, the land which time forgot, where we keep the small but ever-expanding horde of tortoises. Before the other hordes arrive, a single Neanderthal does, so Humps gets to test his magics. And to be honest, his magics don't do all that much to this big tough guy, but eventually he does go down. Maybe this doesn't bode well for the zombies, but we'll find out soon enough. The last thing we'll do before it's time to hide is finally plant some fields. Kind of slacked on that front, to be honest. Alright, here they come. Everyone in. It turns out Ice Spike is pretty decent against zombies, but poor Humps' brain gets hot too quickly, massively limiting his killing power. So his next few levels will be put into caster stats. It's just a few days into the zombie apocalypse now, and a trader's alpaca tries to sabotage our survivors by dying right in our gateway, leading to a small but dangerous incursion of undead to the base. As well as the undead, the alpaca also delivered some food, silver, gold, plasteel, all kinds of shinies, so that's pretty good to be fair. From this point on, we'll be pretty lucky to have any traders or visitors make it to the base, but on the bright side that does mean we fairly often get to loot their stuff for free. The next Psycast that Humps unlocks is the Ice Laser, so let's go and test it out in a totally reckless display of power. Yeah, unsurprisingly it slaps, but let's not do that again, it's quite dangerous. Also, let's just replace this log gate with one made out of steel. We were lucky enough to have a steel ruin spawn on the map, and so have a decent stockpile. It's not likely that we'll ever be able to make any more steel, so we'll try to use what we have wisely. If only we could use some of it to make a vehicle from this video's sponsor, War Thunder, which features more than 2,000 tanks, helicopters, planes and ships, all of which are ridiculously detailed so you can decide exactly how you want to end your opponent's whole career. Whether you just want to sit your panther in a bush and smell the roses, or fly a supersonic jet around flinging air-to-air missiles at people. It also doesn't matter whether you just want to point your mouse at something and watch the pretty explosions, or get hyper-immersed in the simulation with your 5-figure simulator setup. The graphics and sound design are both also top-notch, all of which together makes War Thunder the most comprehensive vehicle combat game out there. I've actually personally played over 1,000 hours, and for some reason most of that was as America. So, play War Thunder now for free, whether you're on PC, PlayStation or Xbox, and use my link from the pinned comment or description below to get yourself a big ol' bonus pack. Sadly, we don't have access to that level of military technology here. We can, however, make iron thanks to researching smithing. So as the threat level drops to 0, giving us a break from the zombies, we can go out and get a fresh batch of wood to fuel the incredibly important torches as well as the freshly built furnace. With the zombies returning, we'll hide in the base and smelt iron in pretty massive quantities. I'm not sure what exactly we'll use it all for yet, but I'm sure it will be handy. Less handy is a boomalope exploding all over the wall, setting a zombie on fire in the process. This fiery fella really knows how to cause a ruckus, running back and forth, setting the wall on fire over and over again. To be honest, how long this zombie survived a flame kind of makes me feel good about not taking the obvious choice of making Humps a fire wizard. I've read enough zombie fiction to know that a burning zombie is just a more dangerous zombie. Anyway, yes, we're suddenly absolutely drowning in iron bars, so let's make an anvil and craft some leather shoes. Well, okay, next time the threat level wanes, we'll stock up on coal, a superior fuel for all of our various fueled devices. And back inside the walls, it's about time we set up auto-slaughter for the Taut Horde. There are 28 of the things. We've also finally researched basic storage, so we can have some shelving and barrels in the cupboards to clean things up a bit. Also, a proper butcher table, rather than the outdoor log they've been using so far. So things are looking pretty good. Whenever a group of zombies or a special zombie shows up, it's usually not a huge deal to have Humps cast some spells to put them down. These travellers, on the other hand, don't fare so well. Despite their nice armour and weapons, they're dragged to the ground and eaten in no time at all. They were carrying some futuristic armour too, and I've made use of this kind of boon in medieval playthroughs before, but not today. This would be crazy OP and as such is sent back to the future where it belongs. With the base feeling safe enough, perhaps we'd best tart up the barracks a bit so that people don't lose their minds and do something crazy. Which is more likely than you'd expect, since everybody keeps getting food poisoning. The place is quite regularly covered in sick because no one here is a particularly good cook. The Zombieland mod has various specialist zombies, and right now there's a miner lurking ominously around the base, identifiable by his hard hat. This guy needs dealing with before he causes a serious problem. I nearly got Humps bit in the process of sending him out to do so, but thankfully he blocked the attack before finishing off the attacker. Anyway, out he goes on his assassination mission, avoiding the hordes and beautifully sniping the miner with an icicle. Good job. Him being out there obviously caused a bit of a stir in the locals, so a few defensive ice lasers were required to keep the base safe, and then it's back to his meditations. A bit later, there's not currently any zombies on the map, but that doesn't mean we're safe. A raid from the Mebutin Empire has arrived. You'd think we could all unite against the undead foe, but I guess not. Anyway, I lined up Humps in the tunnel expecting them to simply run to their deaths, only to find one of them breaking in through the rawhide tents that bridge the gap of the river. Humps rushes over to save Shark before finishing off another raider to send the last one running. That was very rude of them, and it's an important point to keep in mind for the future. Because there's no open route into the base, raiders will just break in like that. Another point to keep in mind is that on this map, fires really can rage. Look at it go. I actually like it a lot. Anyway, Bear is wandering around in utter sadness. I'm not sure why, but he is. Which is fine, as long as he doesn't wander his way outside of the walls. The number of statues Humps has to meditate about is growing, with a new statue named Humps's Vomit. Nice. Whilst he meditates to the idea of being sick, the horde builds up. There's 121 of them out there. We're gonna need to do something about it soon. Humps can go out and laser some zombies to death, but I think for a little better area clearance, we'll need some lightning stuff. Maybe that doesn't make much sense in theory, but you'll see. A little while later, a scholar trader arrives whilst the zombies are up and about. This, to me, seems worth the risk of going out to trade with, as they're the only reliable method for getting the very important tech books that unlock more advanced weaponry. So Humps sneaks out to trade, and sure enough, they have the book we need to make crossbows. That's fantastic. They also have the one for the arbalest, which would be really nice, but we can't afford it. We might get it for free though, because Humps has very much led the horde directly to them. Oh, I'm sorry boys. Unfortunately, their muffalo carrying the other book made it off the map safely, but oh well. We got a tech book, which is more than I got after almost 1,000 days in this mod pack previously. Alright, it's time for some zero threat hours, in which you'll see the colonists extracting a serum from downed Zeds. This can be used in quite massive quantities to try and cure a colonist of the zombie virus. I have no idea what the success rate of that is, and I would rather not find out. We'll also use the safe time to grab some more iron as well as all of that scholar's bread. Lovely zombie trampled bread. Speaking of which, they're coming back any minute. So back in the base, it's time to upgrade our beds from the uncomfortable wooden slabs to itchy straw beds. Great. In fact, it's time we claimed some extra space from the hordes for actual bedrooms. We should start to replace some of the wooden walls with ones made of bone too, because bones aren't flammable, obviously. Unfortunately, before I could finish making the base extension, the zombies came back. So in essence what I've done here is created a dark box for zombies to spawn in. That's, well, it's not ideal, but we'll just ignore it for now and hope that the problem goes away. Because we have another problem. The temperature is suddenly below zero and everyone's freezing. A hastily built but nonetheless lovely marble fireplace in the barracks will solve this problem. But the other problem is starting to scare me. I do not like the zombie box. They're angry in there, but like all of life's problems do, it went away after it was ignored for some time. Unfortunately, it left behind a whole lot of nasty ass slime. No, nasty ass slime. Which takes a really long time to clean. A really, really long time. Some Neanderthals showed up right alongside the reappearance of the zombies, and one managed to slip past Humps' laser beam and beat the daylights out of him before being ice-spiked to death. Which isn't a very nice thing to do, but that's the kind of go-getter attitude that would make Gerbil here a good colonist. So we'll put them in the slimy box and try to either convince them to join or at the very least enslave them. Oh, never mind. I didn't light the place up well enough. I'm sorry, bud, but these things happen. Okay, they've built up in there again. We've got to do something about this. I sent out Humps to go and vent the writhing, fleshy pressure to atmosphere, and then hit it with a laser beam for good measure, because we can. Also, a single zombie just popped up inside the walls. I still don't really know how or where from, but he was just about dealt with safely. The zombie count is starting to get worrying now. There's almost 300 of them on the map, and the deeper we get into the game, the more specials I see mixed in. The breachers are the really frightening ones right now. But we keep surviving to the next quiet period, mainly through constantly repairing doors, which doesn't really seem like a great long-term solution. But with the slime room properly lit, we can finally get on with cleaning it and building hard flooring to make it fully safe, before converting it to bedrooms. We're also making a start on some of that lightning magic. Chainbolt is next on the list, and it is, in my mind, an S-tier psycast. I think we'll have a lot of fun with it. Oh, and it's day 50 by the way. Our progress hasn't exactly been incredible, but frankly it feels as though just continuing to exist is enough of an achievement to celebrate right now. And then this thing arrived while I had Discord up. Some kind of little screamer freak. Its yelp makes everyone vomit, and then it scuttles off to the nearest doors to open them up for the horde. A quick zap to the face, followed by an icy barrage, puts an end to its mischief, and everyone gets back to work on the slime. Which once finally clean, gets some nice marble flooring. It's positively bougie. Now though, a weaponsmith's buffalo is being eaten alive by zombies, dropping us a few nice little presents. Oh Jesus, another one of those awful screamers is in the base. They don't attack anyone, they're just generally kind of horrid. Bedrooms, on the other hand, are not horrid. It feels quite nice to have reached such levels of luxury as this whilst under threat from the hordes. The zombies, however, do appear capable of smelling through the walls, bunching up around a sleeping bear. At some points I guess it would be prudent to thicken the outer walls to prevent or at least lessen this bunching effect. But for this we'd need considerably more bones. If only we had a load of bones around here somewhere. Anyway, before thickening the walls, we'll expand outwards more, grabbing some bone from the local rhino population to save decimating the tortoises so soon. A local megasloth saw this act of violence and gave up on the idea of being a wild animal, deciding to join the colony instead, which is fine, I guess. Anyway, we can't actually build this new space yet, because, as usual, the zombies are back. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun. There's an absolutely enormous ball of zombies out there, and for a change, it's not raining. So I can finally demonstrate the wondrous power of lightning magic. Humps just has to start a few fires and then it's back home he goes. Or perhaps he should try and lead them away from our home a bit, actually. I might have gotten a little bit carried away and created a small issue here. The animals are going nuts and running out of the base. So much for our tame megasloth. But look at the size of this fire. It's absolutely amazing. It's also sort of a problem, though. I hadn't finished replacing all the wooden walls yet. In fact, funnily enough, the only part I hadn't replaced is the only part to come into contact with this massive inferno. So until it fizzles out, everyone is on permanent fire-whacking duty. And then we'll get this wood replaced. Right after Humps deals with some raiders from House Oswin, which are immediately followed by some impids. There are zombies on the map, but not enough to deal with the raid, so Humps needs to go out and intervene. Whoa, hold up. Whilst he was doing that, a breacher zombie has broken in. Thankfully, the ice laser is a pretty solid technique versus riot armor. Unfortunately, this does cause almost every single tortoise to flee from the relative safety of the base out into the waiting mouths of the horde. Well, that's survival of the fittest, I guess. I'm not sure why it took me this long to make a tailoring bench, by the way, but we need one, because everyone's wearing their original tribal wear still. Except for Humps, who's now got a nifty Eltex vest thanks to a forced weather quest. And hey, remember a little while ago when suddenly it was below zero? Well, now it's suddenly 58 degrees C. Thankfully, wet wood in a box quickly solves this problem. It probably shouldn't, but it does. Unfortunately, however, I have once again cocked up, creating a zombie spawning box. This time, however, it's not enclosed, so I need to keep the small pack of zombies busy whilst the threat level drops. Okay, that was a bit of a saga. Shark, tear down this wall. And then build different walls to delineate bedrooms. As for furnishing said bedrooms, we have so much iron that I honestly think the best thing to do is turn it into furniture. Which feels a little strange, but we're doing it. Whilst I'm doing this, Humps and Toton become lovers, which is convenient. Building them a double bed leaves us with a spare bedroom. So, this is a solid improvement. More space, more bedrooms, and none of the outer wall is flammable. Except for the tents. Don't talk about the tents or the zombies will notice. Another quality of life improvement is to lay down straw on the Tortoise Island. Zombies can't dig up through that because they're idiots. Speaking of zombies, they're back in serious numbers and our forced foggy rain is still ongoing. So the burnination tactic isn't quite as effective as normal, but still does kind of work. But what's currently just as worrying as ever are these kind of dudes, the miners. I don't like them hanging around the hillside that leads into the storerooms. They've already thinned it down, so once we get some clear time, we really must fortify this. But first, another caravan is getting unceremoniously removed from the area, via consumption. Oh, and they've dropped some lovely shinies. A gaggle of Eltex maces and some of these named ones that I've never even seen before. So with the zombies beginning to fall over again, let's get one of those psychic wallopers into the hands of Humps for an extra 12% psi sensitivity. And it's a good thing we found some of this nice stuff too, because a little while later some raiders from the Empire show up at a rather inconvenient time. Humps is fresh out of psi juice, meaning we'll have to do some normal, old-fashioned combat. which goes surprisingly well, and after the thrill of combat, Humps gets Toton pregnant. Okay, that's fine, I suppose. Someone always needs to have a baby in zombie apocalypse fiction. It adds tension and ups the stakes, I guess. But the baby won't come for a good while yet. And more importantly, there's an absolutely enormous ball of zombies out there just waiting to be burnt to death the moment this rain stops. If it ever stops. This place is worse than an English January. But right now the zombies are going nuts on some thrombos, and... Oh shit, the rain has actually stopped. Go, Humps. Go, make a fire. Ah, that's nice. I love fire. I'm not really sure how much it functionally reduces the population of zombies, but it sure looks good. Of course, now I have to keep an eye on the one wooden embrasure and the flammable steel gate that we have in the entrance, but it feels like it's worth it. As the zombies fade again, a wild man wanders into the area, and rather conveniently, Toton has an inspired taming right now. So on day 87, the colony gets its first new recruit in the form of a wild man named Seahorse, who's a very good cook, so maybe now the floor won't be covered in vomit all the time. That would be nice. The cycle of events is getting quite predictable now though. The zombies arrive, Humps starts a massive fire, the rains arrive, we hide inside and make some small progress. The progress this time is realizing that I should have researched engineering and mining a long time ago. But to build an advanced research bench, we need to craft some basic components, which will take a long time. And more importantly, a breacher has crashed through the wall into someone's bedroom, which is extremely rude. I don't appreciate that sort of rowdy behaviour. Humps can deal with the situation admirably though, whilst Shark slips in behind to repair the damage. And then the zombies start to fall over again, thus completing the cycle. In this quiet period, we'll replace that weak section of wall, or we would if it were actually quiet. House Oswin have shown up once again, and Humps is, once again, fresh out of juice. Meaning, you guessed it, normal, ordinary combat, which thankfully the gang are actually pretty good at by this point. Unfortunately, the melee combat apparently didn't excite Humps this time, because afterwards, Toton tried proposing to him twice in a row and he rejected her both times, leading to a breakup. Nice. They can, however, still sleep together, and I will be forcing them to do so. It'll be very awkward and they won't like it, but that's too bad, shouldn't have broken up. Okay, the wall is finished, the base is secure and almost entirely fireproof. The next objective is just to start thickening the walls to reduce the amount of human stink that's leaking out and attracting the hordes. But we're getting pretty close to our main objective now, of surviving here for 100 days. And at this point we can have a good time burning down massive hordes of zombies without really ever facing any consequences, which is nice. Anyway, after hauling in all the local muffalo and harvesting them for bones, we can get to work on the bedroom walls. I don't actually know that this will do anything, but it feels good. Toton, however, does not feel good. She's on the brink of both giving birth and a major mental break, which could be pretty tragic if they happened at the same time. So let's make some drums and dance around a campfire on day 99 to help her push through the hardship. I didn't realise it, but when they're successful, these drum parties also recharge psi-focus, so I probably should have been doing them for some time now. Anyway, a gang of manhunter rhinos are rampaging through the ragged hordes, which is fun to watch but ultimately inconsequential, and now it's day 100. We did it! But before we leave the gang to the doldrums of an endless survival lifestyle, Toton is having a baby, which we'll name Thump, to combine the names of her now separated parents. As nice as it would be to end on the creation of new life though, what I'm actually going to do is accidentally ramp some settings way too high and spawn well over 1,000 zombies out there. And then, obviously we're going to set them on fire and just watch the flames. I like fire a lot, guys. Seriously, it's actually worrying. Anyway, please remain indoors. The reasons to do so on this occasion should, I think, be obvious. It's because of the burning zombies. Alright, thank you so much for watching, as ever, and thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the pinned comment or description, and grab this bonus pack for yourself. Until next time, goodbye.